Not as bad as it looked. That's what Lane Kiffin said about the game down in LSU this weekend. It was really an awful 19 minutes, but before that, they played okay. There were still issues that they need to work on, but it was that last 19 minutes that did them in. This is the extra edition, the Monday presser edition of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to this extra Monday presser edition of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Lane Kiffin was quick to point out that this isn't as bad as it seems. If you look at the scoreboard, you might think a different game happened than what the film showed. The last 19 minutes of game time was absolutely awful. We've discussed that ad nauseum. But the first little bit, Ole Miss was going in to take the lead at the end of the third quarter when the interception was thrown. We talked about the momentum swings that could happen with LSU. Whenever things go well, they can really pounce on you, and this was no exception. They took the final 19 minutes of that game and just kind of ran with it. Ended up winning the game 45-20. But Kiffin says, when it comes to the run defense, and we've harped on that a little bit, we've done it before. And that is something we all need to remember. The Kentucky game happened. Now, after the Kentucky game, maybe other coaches found something to work on, but these guys will get it fixed up in the next couple of weeks. You're not exactly dealing with running juggernauts other than Arkansas, and take Texas A&M with maybe Devin Achane. That's what we're looking at moving forward. Mississippi State doesn't have a tight end. This is a perfect defense to go against those guys. Against Alabama, they ran for 20 yards against Mississippi State over the weekend. It's not a running team. This is a Bryce Young dominant team. So just be careful. Take a deep breath. Everything is going to be all right. Katie Hill stepped up to the mic and said, we just need to get back to swarming and punishing ball carriers. We've done this before. It was kind of a mantra that was said over and over and over. We've done it before. Nick Broeker says we'll learn from this experience. This was the first time that these guys played on the road in that type of an environment. There were going to be hiccups. There were going to be that. He also mentioned that the crew that called this game is the same guys that called the Alabama game against Tennessee, where they called 17 penalties. So everybody can kind of take a deep breath. Everything's going to be all right. I think the confidence isn't going to waver. One of the main super abilities that Lane Kiffin has is the ability to instill confidence in his players. I don't think that is going to be overly shaken from this LSU game, but it's something we should keep an eye on, honestly. Pamela would hide in the office bathroom every 30 minutes to dry off her armpits so nobody would see the wet circles under her arms. She finally has her life back because of Sweat Block. Pamela was able to fix her problem with Sweat Block. Sweat Block gives you the confidence to wear what you want without embarrassing underarm sweat. Sweat Block wipes were featured and tested on the Rachel Ray show by firefighters. If you know someone you love who is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try Sweat Block. So save 20% with promo code Locked On. That's 2 words, Locked On, at sweatblock.com. It's also available at amazon.com. So that is pretty cool about that. Also, I do want to let you know about the LinkedIn job situation. LinkedIn, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have the access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. So create a profile on LinkedIn.com. Dress it up, do whatever you need to do. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are in fact hiring. It's simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering high-quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. Thank you very much for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Let's go straight to the players. Lane Kiffin, Katie Hill, Nick Broeker talking about LSU and looking ahead a little bit toward Texas A&M. They had a nice walkthrough this morning. I think the confidence level is going to be okay after last weekend. Remember, they're just 7-1. There's some people talking about this game like this is Ole Miss team is a 3-5 team, like this is 1996. No, they're 7-1. They got a game they can win in College Station. Texas A&M is uber talented, but it's a game you can win. Alabama, a game you can win. Arkansas, a game you can win. Mississippi State, a game you can win. We told you weeks ago, this team could go 7-5, this team could go 12-0, or anywhere in between. So we get to go down this ride. Do not ride the roller coaster. Do not take the data point and stretch that out to infinity. The LSU game, they lost that game, so that means they're going to lose the next ones. Doesn't work that way. All these games are individual things, and criticism over individual games doesn't really matter. So, anyway, here is Lane Kiffin, Katie Hill, and Nick Broeker. See you tomorrow.
All right, so, this is really, I guess, in a year, our first time of, having a Monday after a loss, coming back to meet with the players and practice and stuff. So that's a new challenge, for our guys. And the biggest key is that, one loss, you don't allow it to move into more losses. So, I look at the game and, the final score, and you guys know I don't give coach speak, and I told them today, if you just look at the final score, you'd think, okay, well, they weren't ready to play. They came in and got dominated, and that wasn't the case. They started really well, didn't let the crowd affect them, and got up 17-3. And even after a lot of stuff, 4 minutes left in the third quarter, going into score, to take the lead, and really played really poorly for the next 19 minutes after, the interception on all three phases, but especially offense and defense. So, we can't let that beat us again. We've got to learn from it. We've got to improve in certain areas. We had too many penalties, some poor decisions on ones, and I tell you guys, you got to understand stadiums you play in, crews that you have, and, there's certain crews that officiate games. I'm not complaining. We just have to understand what it is. So, like Alabama the week before were 17 penalties. And so we've got to do a better job with that, understanding all the things that go with that, and definitely finish games better than we did. So, huge, no time to sit around and mope with it. We're getting ready to go play probably one of the top 5 rosters in America. I think 8 5-star players a year ago, most ever. So these guys are ultra talented, and we're going to play one of the top 5 hardest places to play. So that's a combination, obviously, that makes you have to do a lot of things right in order to have a chance to win. So we got a lot of work to do this week, and got to get better.
Just executing the small details, that's all. I believe in this group, this team, and we got the great players. We just got to continue to work on the small things and get better every single day and believe in our ability and just continue to have confidence in ourselves.
I thought we came out of the gate, pretty hot. I mean, we moved the ball early. We did what we had to do, and for whatever reason, I think we kind of showed them later on in the game, and didn't really play up to our standard, didn't play our best, kind of let some things get to the better of us. But some really great things for us to learn from, especially with some younger guys, and some of us are playing different positions. So it's some good things to learn from.
Well, it was just a walkthrough, but I think they were good. Again, just pointed out, okay, here's the things early we did really well in the game, and then here's where we fell apart. And just like when we play a really good 19 minutes, we can't let that define us and say, oh, we're great now. Just like when we play really bad 19 minutes, we can't let that, make us lose our confidence and we're no good all of a sudden. So, like I said, we got to do better in a lot of areas. Penalties, red zone, I think 2 of 5, only 2 touchdowns down there 5 times. That was, we did not run the ball like we would like to, and overplayed Q, because Zach wasn't available, and Bentley really was questionable and limited, so I think he played 71 plays or something like that. So that's not ideal, and hopefully we'll get healthy to help that, and we've just got to do a better job in a lot of areas.
One thing about this team, I know we're going to get back. We're going to get back up and fight. That's what I love about our brotherhood. We always got each other back.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely times where it needs to be better. Last week, obviously, we got put in some tough positions, and we didn't really, execute to our best. And again, those are great things for us to learn from. And going forward, we're going to do our best to not let it happen again.
I think I've said it, when you play, really talented players in programs, they will expose certain areas. And it's why, when you play one of them super early or open with them, you learn more about issues that you have. And sometimes they can be hidden until you go play, one of, like I said last week, like a program like the next 3, and I mean, they make recruiting rankings for a reason, and obviously those have a lot to do with winning and draft picks. And so when you play really good players, you've got to do things really well, or you can't get away with some things you can versus some of the personnel we played early in the year.
Swarm and punish. That's all we got to do, swarm and punish and play Ole Miss football defense.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of as tough as it really gets for tackles, on the road in Death Valley playing against 2, top-end edge rushers. I mean, that's about as tough as it really gets, especially later on in the game when it's obvious passing situation. They're kind of pinned back, knowing we're going to throw the ball. And, I thought they handled it well. I thought they did a really good job. Obviously, all of us have plays we want back, and that's just part of the game when you play at this level. You're going to make mistakes. Other players are really good too. So, just keep their head confident. They're both really good players. They're going to have really great careers.
Well, we've got to tackle better. Certainly hasn't helped Cedric not being available at all 2 weeks ago and being very limited, and he tried to play but wasn't himself. And then when Troy, in both games, having to come out due to injuries, those are, 2 really significant players. So, but we've got to tackle better and limit explosive plays, which is what we had done really well early in the year. And, we showed them some film today just to make sure, like, hey, here's some out from 2 weeks ago, and how well, in 3 weeks ago, Kentucky game, and how well that we played and the energy that we played with and gang tackling. So it's not like we got to come up with it out of nowhere. We've done it.